Hey, my friend. Tonight, we'll dive deep into a tale that seems mundane, but holds the survival secrets of Andes hunters who braved a terrifying earthquake. You won't make it through the night, trust me. But before you pull the blanket up to your chin, turn off the light, switch on the fan for its soothing hum, and get ready for a dusty, alpaca fur-warmed journey through time. In the freezing Andean night, humans face nature's fury. Landslides, quaking earth, and winds that cut through flesh. They're not the romantic heroes you might imagine, nor just fire keepers in caves. They're survivors, honing skills to fight cold, tremors, and build sturdy shelters from what seems worthless. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know where you're watching from. Now, wrap yourself in an alpaca blanket, close your eyes, and join me to uncover the 16 grueling yet wondrous stages of the Andes hunter's survival. The Andes, the planet's longest mountain range, stretches and curves through 6 South American countries, standing proud like a jagged stone comb touching the sky. Its highest peak, Aconcagua, 6,960 meters, is forever cloaked in snow, like a giant cotton blanket draped over the horizon's ankles. Further south, the slopes soften, the land turns arid, less rugged than the highlands. Andean valleys nestle between ancient agricultural terraces, where low-flying planes glide through morning clouds like a lazy giant bird just waking up. The air here, by day, is thin as a wisp of smoke, forcing every breath to struggle to fill your lungs. But when the sun dips behind the peaks, the temperature plummets to sub-zero digits. Icy winds from the northeast snake through mountain crevices, slithering into valleys like a silver serpent, carrying damp mist and the pungent scent of earth and stone. In rare moments of stillness, only the winds whistle and the rustle of mist cascading over tall grass, like ghostly fingers, break the silence. If you step into a small village, a cluster of rough stone houses tucked against a mountainside, you'll feel the stark poverty yet fierce resilience of its people. Stone walls, hastily chiseled, are stacked with dried clay. Roofs are thatched with straw and alpaca wool, thick or thin depending on the fleece at hand. Inside, a flickering fire smokes up a dim room. Faint light seeps through wooden door cracks, just enough to blur the shadows of people hunched over a rickety wooden table. They live above 3,000 meters, where wheat and corn might take root, but nothing blooms vividly except potatoes, the native crop that's conquered altitude and bitter cold for millennia. In a wild moment, a moment outsiders might hear described as war drums pounding from the earth, massive boulders split and tumble down slopes. These rocks aren't mere lifeless objects. They're like ferocious beasts, sliding over cliffs and crashing into valleys, flattening terraced fields that stood for 1,000 years. Dust swirls in ashy clouds, red as a copper rain, blotting out the sun and burying villages in a false night. For the Andes hunters, accustomed to danger, every sound, every tremor carries meaning. Their daily hunts aren't romantic tales of chasing mountain boars or porcupines like in fairy tales. They're a survival game, blending every sense, eyes scanning every leaf's twitch, ears analyzing the earth's vibrations, and feet steady on slippery stones. They wear no armor or grand weapons. Their tools are their deep knowledge of nature, alpaca cloaks dyed with clay for camouflage, and sheepskin shoes reinforced with iron studs for grip. Each village holds just a few dozen homes, scattered at the base of steep cliffs where small streams bubble from underground springs, frothing white like sea foam. These streams are lifelines, irrigating terraced potato fields. In the dry season, water grows scarce, so villagers dig manual channels, using natural pressure to guide water from higher slopes, nourishing the soil and creating small water terraces, like a miniature Aztec bank, hoarding every precious drop. At night, after an earthquake, when the dust settles and the sky clears, the Milky Way sparkles above. The faint glow of millions of stars makes the towering cliffs even more majestic. They gather around a coal fire, sipping chicha, lightly fermented corn beer, with dried fruit or hastily picked mountain berries. It's not a party drink. It's a balm for the soul, binding the community before they slip under alpaca blankets, woven with their sweat-soaked hands, and crawl into sleep on the cold ground. Sleep here isn't peaceful. It's laced with the creak of weaving looms and the whistle of wind through narrow door gaps, but it's enough to briefly forget the fear of aftershocks tomorrow. And then, those hunters rise at dawn when mist still clings to the mountains, taking a deep breath to catch the slightest sign of movement, like city folk checking a weather app. They know one tremor means dropping their hunting tools and rushing to the widest cave crevice, a shelter carved by their ancestors, stocked with a makeshift fire and blankets to endure the freezing night. It's not an attack or defense strategy. It's survival instinct, forged over centuries in a landscape as brutal as it is breathtakingly beautiful. Morning in the Andean valley begins with the clatter of a pair of yoked oxen plowing the soil into neat rows. Dawn's feeble sunlight pierces the thin veil of mist, casting a glow over terraced fields like rippling silk. A man sits on the plow's seat, back slightly hunched, his white beard gleaming with age, deftly guiding the oxen, though the thin air forces each breath to be drawn twice to fill his lungs. A young girl emerges from a small room, her hair hastily tied back, clutching freshly harvested corn, stepping lightly on slick stones, her gentle smile blooming as she sees the sweat-glistening oxen pulling the plow. Kitchen smoke curls into the air, signaling a batch of chicha, fermented corn beer, nearly ready to share at midday after work. The potato fields, the community's backbone, grow in tight rows, exuding the scent of freshly turned earth. Plump, rugged potatoes nestle beneath vibrant green leaves. An elderly woman, back bent, patiently peels away clinging soil, her calloused, cracked hands skillfully extracting potatoes, selecting just the right size for the family's meal. Children trail behind, catching potato peels in baskets, chatting softly, comforting each other with simple questions. "Mama, are these potatoes tasty? When will the chicha be ready?" Their laughter ripples like a babbling stream, wrapping humble hopes in mountain mist. During corn season, heavy, sun-swollen cobs are neatly laid on thin-woven trays. A mother carefully strings the corn to hang under the eaves for days of sun-drying, confident it'll be dry enough for grinding into chicha or torta flour. Those trays sometimes double as makeshift shields when light aftershocks ripple through, startling people mid-harvest to drop their work and hold trays overhead to block falling debris from thatched roofs. Villagers say, "Alpaca shawls keep us warm, bamboo trays keep us alive." Yet, the Andes' nature doesn't just gift fertile soil. It carries an instinct to quake. One day, as the sun climbs to its peak, the clear blue sky turns eerily still. Birds stop singing. The stream's flow hushes like fading mist. In that moment, a man slicing potatoes pauses mid-row, his face flickering with unease. No one speaks, but they know the strange is coming. Then the ground trembles, first a gentle shudder like a flinch, then pounding like war drums in the earth's core. Limestone rocks on the terraced fields crack, tumbling with a roar like a beast's growl. Dry leaves swirl in the air. Dust billows, blanketing everything. Sturdy wooden plows splinter, panicked oxen bolt, plow blades scattering. Shouts echo across the slopes. Corn husks crunch underfoot. Wind chimes clatter on roofs, setting the rhythm for the chaos. People abandon corn baskets and fermenting chicha, grabbing alpaca blankets, the family's lifeline, draping them like armor to shield their bodies from stone wall fragments. The heavy blankets envelop them, a warm cocoon against the bone-chilling cold and the earth's roaring fury. At the earthquake's peak, blankets aren't enough. Clay tiles shatter, falling like tin rain. Winds whip away thatch. They know to retreat to the nearest cave. A young man grips a rope woven from chestnut bark, rallying everyone, leading them to a narrow rock crevice. While running, elders and children are given warm blankets, shivering in the cold. Their arms are frail, hands icy as glaciers, but no one complains. They know a second's delay could mean being flung skyward by flying rocks, falling like a frigid metal shower. Hearts pound, breaths come short and sharp, but in the blinding dust, community spirit surges. Men guide women, children cling to fathers' shoulders, elders lean on upright stones. In the cave, a portable clay stove flickers, its dry twigs fueling a small fire. That stove's value isn't just warmth. It's proof they're alive, not swallowed by the earth. The firelight dances on sweat-soaked faces, reflecting joyful tears in elders' eyes and the rapt gaze of children. Then the tremors fade. The cave falls silent, save for the fire's crackle. They sit in a circle, quietly gathering spilled cornmeal from the floor. A woman carefully pours chicha from a ceramic jug, sharing a small sip with each person. The rich, corn-scented chicha is a balm, soothing aching joints and the terror they just endured. They drink as if sipping hope, trusting that tomorrow's dawn will reveal terraced fields still standing, a testament to their ancestors' endurance. The next morning, as the mist clears, the world calms. The garden lies broken, potato rows buried, terraced fields reduced to barren patches. They don't weep. Instead, they untie blanket cords, salvaging alpaca wool and old wood to repair thatched roofs. Like village artisans, their calloused yet nimble hands reweave torn blankets, patching frayed corners and mending scattered thatch. The remaining coal stove is cleaned, dry twigs gathered to fuel the evening fire. On the cracked earth, they begin rebuilding. Oxen are led to higher slopes, less prone to quakes, though nowhere is truly safe. But it's enough for now. New potato rows are shaped into V patterns to prevent landslides, and corn is interplanted to anchor the soil. Flat land becomes a site for temporary tarp shelters, shielding against rain and mist. Bamboo trays, once for drying corn, now cover windows, layered to block drafts. Life resumes its rhythm, but the Andes people grasp a truth. Preparing for earthquakes isn't about farming. It's the art of adaptation. They don't fight nature, but learn to live beside it. The alpaca blanket, once for warmth, becomes soft armor against the earth's wrath. Bamboo trays don't just hold corn, they shield from debris. Chicha isn't just for drinking. It's a ritual binding the community after terror. As night falls, the oxen's plowing ceases, leaving only the flicker of an oil lamp by the thatched door. Elders recount the earthquake tale to children through wall cracks, hands stroking hair, reminding them hardship is inevitable, but unity and folk wisdom will guide them through the longest night. In the warmth of chicha and the hum of insects, they drift into a dreamy sleep, filled with hope for a more resilient tomorrow. The ancient Andes people worshipped Pachamama, Mother Earth, as a mighty goddess, granting life through every corn kernel, potato tuber, and gentle alpaca grazing on mountain slopes. Long ago, the sight of alpaca herds weaving through snow-white rocks, their fleece glinting in the morning sun, convinced people they were divine messengers, bearing gifts of warmth against bone-chilling cold. Alpaca fleece, legend says, was ceremonial cocoa foam, sweet, rich essence in sacred rituals, able to banish piercing cold, lulling people into peaceful sleep as if cradled in nature's embrace. Oral tales recount that when the first terrible earthquake struck, thousands of souls reeled. The sky turned blood red. People huddled trembling in dust and smoke. In that chaotic moment, an elderly woman, hair white as mountain mist, slowly spread a thick alpaca blanket before the cave's entrance, inviting all to wrap themselves in it. The weathered shawl, dyed with natural hues, saffron yellow from wild daisies, purple from sacred tree bark, no longer mere decoration, became a soft shield, warming hearts and bodies. Legends whisper that when an alpaca blanket enveloped someone, their blood warmed, muscle and bone pain from aftershock tremors eased as if soothed, helping them endure the earthquake without collapsing. But reality isn't as rosy as myth. When the earth quakes, survival hinges not on miracles, but on alpaca fleece's exceptional insulation. Compared to sheep wool or goat yarn, alpaca fibers have a hollow structure, forming millions of tiny air pockets that trap body heat, even when natural warmth falters. Those injured, lying motionless in dark caves, needed only to wrap an alpaca blanket tightly around themselves. Their bodies maintained enough warmth to stave off hypothermia, the true enemy of disaster survivors. Weaving alpaca blankets thus became a sacred ritual. Each strand, gathered from thick-fleeced male alpacas, its silky threads carefully cleaned, soaked in warm water mixed with wood ash to remove impurities, then wrung out and sun-dried on high terraces where mountain winds blow ceaselessly. Weavers hunch on cold earth, hands swiftly threading needles through wooden looms, tirelessly separating strands caked with dirt. As dawn's light creeps through cave door cracks, their faces remain still, eyes blending with the undyed purple of raw alpaca fleece, listening to the click of needles like a war drum's beat. An earthquake could strike any moment. Each finished blanket takes a week of grueling work. The inner fleece, tightly interwoven with double-threaded wool, creates just enough thickness to insulate without weighing heavily. At the edges, weavers embroider U-shaped patterns, symbolizing the Earth's rhythmic tremors. A few red threads, color of survival, run across, marking the completion date. When the blanket is unfurled, its wavy patterns come alive in the morning sun, evoking the laborious yet hopeful time spent crafting it. Originally, alpaca blankets were reserved for village elders and chiefs, those tasked with leading the community through disaster. They'd drape them like royal cloaks, striding through dust and smoke, shouting, "South Cave! North Cave!" But over time, through generations' wisdom, they realized these fragile blankets weren't just for the powerful. They must be shared with all. Children, elders, new mothers, wounded warriors gasping by fires, all needed that soft protection. So, villages doubled weaving efforts, teaching every family the ash water formula, the secret to curing alpaca fleece, and how to build looms suited for children's hands. Alpaca blankets aren't just for disasters. In winter, when snow clings to stream edges, they're steadfast companions, draped over women hauling grain, spread across packed earth beds, warmed by fires, sometimes laid in front yards as mats for guests sipping chicha or fermented fruit wine. Soft laughter rises when someone touches the fleece, exclaiming, "I wish I could take this blanket across the world." Then a mountain gust sweeps through, carrying wheat field dust, reminding them that here, alpaca blankets aren't souvenirs. They're lifelines in a brutal wilderness. Modern scientists, studying alpaca fleece, confirm its superiority. In labs, under microscopes, they discover its hollow hexagonal structure, 30% less moisture absorbent than sheep wool, with double the heat retention of standard yarn. Geologists, surveying ancient caves, find alpaca blanket traces in ruins over 1,000 years old. Proof this species has been humanity's Andes companion since time immemorial. Yet, myths don't always align with reality. Earthquake deaths persist when victims are too far from village centers, missing the wind drum's call from the mountains, or trapped under massive boulders. Alpaca blankets help but aren't magic cures. During fierce quakes, their thickness only insulates, not shields against flying debris. Still, refusing to let despair win keeps their spirits strong. Instead of weeping, they wrap blankets, urge each other to rush to caves, huddle for warmth, and count aftershock rhythms like ancient lullabies. Later, alpaca wool trade along the Andes Silk Road carried these mystical tales. When alpaca fleece reached Europe, prized as mountain silk, curious buyers asked, "Why is alpaca wool so costly?" Shopkeepers gently revealed, "Because it's not just soft. It holds the faith of a culture that survived countless earthquakes with this very blanket." Some novelists wove fantastical details. People wrapped in alpaca blankets dreaming of Pachamama guiding them to safety, or visions of sleek llamas leading to hidden mineral springs. Truth be told, alpaca myths may just be the Andes people's way of soothing fears before the Earth's might. They can't alter tectonic forces, but they can prepare hands, feet, and hearts. A thick blanket, wrapping the whole body, dulls the cold's bite. When cold no longer threatens, they think clearly, organize evacuations, and find safe shelters. Thus, on the fragile line between life and death, the alpaca blanket becomes a symbol of hope. No matter how fierce nature roars, with knowledge, faith, and unity, humanity can endure. And so, Night after night by flickering fires, elders share fairy tales of alpaca fleece, the valley's ceremonial cocoa foam, with their grandchildren. The click of weaving needles hums like a gentle lullaby, soothing souls into vibrant yet arduous memories. In the blanket's warmth, the wind whistling through door cracks loses its menace, becoming a serene symphony, guiding them into peaceful sleep, dreaming of a brighter tomorrow when dawn awakens. Alpaca blankets brimming with hope. As dawn's faint light slips through the cave's door cracks, oil lamps hidden behind stone walls flicker to life, illuminating a small room where an ancient pine-wood loom stands silently. No clamor of industrial looms or whirring wheels, only the steady click of a fishbone shuttle gliding through alpaca fleece strands. The simple loom, 4 roughly joined wooden posts, 2 horizontal bars securing coarse warp threads, and a crossbar anchoring the sharp shuttle like a fishing hook. Village women, small but resilient, kneel on sheepskin mats spread across the floor. Their deft hands thread the fishbone shuttle through the weave, untangling silky alpaca fleece, combed smooth, then stretching it taut across the loom. Each strand, silver-gleaming alpaca fiber, flows like a river of light under their fingers, curving into primal patterns. The clicking sounds like a drum lulling a child to sleep. Yet the flickering kitchen smoke makes the scene cozier than any modern heater. The weaving begins with cleaned fleece, soaked in warm water mixed with forest wood ash, an ancestral recipe to strip away dirt and clumped oils. After wringing it dry, the fleece is spread under mountain sunlight, piece by piece, pure white, pale gray, and jet black. A young weaver, hair tied high like a bundle of dry grass, patiently sorts the fleece into small bundles, blowing away tiny debris. Each bundle is split into fine threads, carefully wound before being fed onto the loom. If alpaca fleece is a silver river, their hands are the boats ferrying it through the loom's valley. Once the threads are aligned on the loom, dyeing begins. A middle-aged woman brings out 2 clay jars, one filled with a deep purple extract from oil tree roots, rich as plum wine, the other with golden liquid from mountain daisies, gleaming like early sunlight. Herbal scents mingle with damp earth, enlivening the room. They dip fleece bundles into the purple jar, letting them soak half a day to absorb the hue, then lift them to dry in the crisp breeze, moving to a sunlit spot. As the fibers dry, the purple softens, tinged with the nostalgia of white clouds. Next, they repeat with daisy dye for golden patches, weaving purple and gold into a symphony of color on the thick blanket. Dyeing blends technique with art. They don't just mix colors. They feel the wind, the sun, to decide when to lift the fibers. Fibers soaked too long lose softness. Overexposed to sun, they harden. So, each weaver watches sunlight and mountain breezes closely, adjusting drying times. Some jest. Andes weather is the toughest boss. It listens to no one. And of course, no Windows forecast app to check. They rely solely on inherited wisdom. When the dyed threads are ready, the weaving room grows unusually quiet. The clicking resumes, slower, more rhythmic. Weavers use the fishbone shuttle to craft a cross-stitch, fish scale technique, so the blanket is not only thick, but lightly elastic. Each stitch weaves purple, gold, and white, forming small patterns of mountain waves, streams, and the sun. Hooking the shuttle into the warp, pulling through, twisting gently to snug the soft thread, then releasing to form a tiny grid like a chessboard square. The process repeats thousands of times for a blanket over 2 meters long and nearly 1.5 meters wide. At noon, they pause, sipping chicha, lips faintly corn yellow, eyes sparkling as they share tales of this morning's aftershocks. Soft laughter rises. As long as the blanket's not done, the earthquake won't dare come. They tease, for this slowness, the simplest clock of life, keeps them calm amid nature's fury. After at least 7 days of tireless work, the finished blanket is laid on the ground. The alpaca fleece, soft as a velvet cap. The woven wool, sturdy. The fish scale patterns, vivid. Village elders inspect closely, running the fishbone shuttle over the surface to feel its smoothness, folding it to hear the rustle of fluffy fleece, a sign of well-woven threads. When it passes, they don thin leather gloves, trimming excess fibers with a small knife, sewing the edges with silkworm thread for durability. A red stitch border angles across one corner, marked with the weaving year and weaver's name, a native signature. The blanket becomes a family treasure, stored under beds or in windproof stone shelves. But most crucially, when an earthquake strikes, they grab it from the shelf, wrap it around themselves, lift their backs off cold stone, creating a cushion to lessen the impact of falling debris. Picture them huddled in a dark cave, wrapped in thick blankets, lying still for hours until aftershocks fade. The cold can't pierce the alpaca fleece, and its softness keeps panic at bay. Spines lifted off hard stone reduce the risk of fractures from small rolling rocks by 40%, by their seasoned estimate. On alpaca wool trade routes, these hand-woven blankets are hailed as lost treasures, worth triple ordinary wool. North American and European buyers marvel, soft as a divine nightgown. They don't know the story behind each fishbone stitch, each drop of herbal dye, and the noontime labors amid smoke and fire. And so, the alpaca blanket is more than warmth. It's a symbol of survival wisdom, mastering handcraft, harnessing local resources, and transforming humble fleece into soft armor, shielding against the earth's tremors. During an earthquake, the blanket is a calming potion, steadying hearts, keeping breaths even, and inspiring dreams of dawn in the Andes Valley, where every fiber glints in sunlight, reminding them that, in life, the most precious things often lie in the seemingly ordinary. The Andes people's vital faith after each earthquake begins with rough, round stones scattered across mountain slopes. When the earth stops shaking, dust and smoke slowly clear. They gather those stones, stacking them into low walls. No blueprints, no rulers, only wisdom passed through generations. The largest stones at the base, smaller ones layered upward, forming a slightly rounded oval, steadfast and strong. In the heart of the stone pile, they carve a shallow pit, just deep enough for alpaca blankets and dried food, the community's vault of survival, storing all hope for warmth and sustenance after the quake's storm. The crude structure looks clumsy at first, like a jagged Lego wall, but with each stone placed precisely, it grows surprisingly sturdy. Tiny gaps between stones let cold air pass slowly, keeping the interior from becoming a furnace while blocking sudden gusts outside. Above, instead of tiles or metal sheets, they layer dry leaves and thick alpaca fleece, nature's gifted insulation. The leaves, nearly 2 hands thick, muffle hail and dust slipping through wall cracks. The soft alpaca fleece, a few inches more, traps warmth from smoldering coals beneath the earth. Inside this makeshift stone house lies a world of stark simplicity. One corner holds a coal stove, a humble clay pot perched on 3 stones, where dry wood, stripped of resin, waits to flare, releasing fragrant smoke. Nearby, a bamboo basket stores potatoes, dried corn, and small bags of white quinoa, the crisis staples. On a small stone ledge by the pit, alpaca blankets are neatly folded, their silver glinting fibers smooth, a soft shield ready to wrap anyone who enters. Each family, fewer than 5, finds enough space to stand or sit huddled around the stove, backs against cool stone walls. No one freezes. The walls, a hand-span thick, hold heat for hours. Leaning against the stone, warmth from roasted potato flesh mingles with cozy stove smoke, seeping into alpaca fleece draped over spines. They sit in dim twilight, firelight flickering, tracing charcoal smudges and weathered wrinkles on their faces. No words are needed. Their loyal silence tells stories of flattened fields, of families across the valley reaching caves, of children clutching alpacas, refusing to let go. The only sounds, beyond crackling wood and steady breaths, are hailstones striking the leaf roof. They sound like strange war drums, but not frightening. They know the sturdy stones below keep them safe. Occasionally, a child peeks through the narrow door, eyes sparkling with curiosity. A mother gently beckons, wrapping the child in a blanket to sit close, then sings an ancient lullaby. Slow rhythms, each verse like the earth's pulse, both soothing and strange, easing souls into calm amid the storm. As evening deepens, temperatures drop, yet the stone house grows warmer. An elderly couple counts dwindling firewood to last till dawn. Their sunburned, trembling hands stir coals with a stick, adding a small twig. The fire casts sneaky red glints through wall cracks, warming stone edges like ghostly embers ready to blaze. On the flat earth floor, a thick alpaca blanket is spread. People lie down, knees tucked, nestled in soft fleece. In the cave's center, only human breath, damp earth, and thin mist from exhales linger in the cramped space. At dawn, when aftershocks fade, the first sun rays slip through roof gaps, painting light and shadow on stone walls. They wake in the warmth of dying coals mixed with dry leaf scent, slowly folding blankets, checking potato stores, then hauling belongings back to the valley. In the purple-pink sunrise, the makeshift Aztec bank stands like a mobile museum. Each stone, each pit, each alpaca fleece tells a tale of unity and folk wisdom. No one praises grandeur or splendor. They exchange only reverent nods, then hurry to clear rubble, replant corn and potatoes. But deep in their hearts, they know this simple stone house proves their spirit's strength. With knowledge, skill, and faith in Pachamama, even in the harshest valley, they can craft a shelter warm enough to await peaceful days. As night falls again, they'll return to the makeshift cave, light coals, wrap in alpaca blankets, and by flickering firelight, their souls drift into the calmest sleep, a survival sleep, serene yet brimming with hope. In the flickering firelight of the makeshift stone house, no epic horns or drums blare like in heroic tales, No lone valiant warrior charges into the abyss to save the village. Instead, the Andes hunter's survival story is a symphony of unity. Every voice, old, young, man, woman, equally vital, weaving together scraps of wisdom to form an invisible shield against the earth's fury. In the first days after an earthquake, the air hangs heavy, like ash-laden smoke clinging overhead. Aftershocks still shudder slyly beneath the ground. Gentle tremors stir fear in seasoned hearts. Village elders gather around a large stone bench, calloused hands tapping its surface, listening to echoing reverberations. They distinguish natural rumbles, like underground streams or rolling cave stones, from the thud-thud of an injured person's dragging steps. When they hear footsteps faltering, they know to act fast, slip into caves, wrap alpaca blankets around themselves, and check victims for wounds. Amid the rubble, no one plays the lone hero. Instead of a single leader commanding, the community collaborates. They divide tasks. Strong men chop firewood, clear massive stones from paths to make way for elders and children. Women boil potatoes, cook corn, keep fires smoldering. Elders, sharp with experience, monitor aftershock intensity, warning other families early. Older children deliver food supplies, maintaining temporary order. A silver-haired grandmother, survivor of dozens of quakes, offers wisdom. Don't cower in one spot. Move like ants on a hot plate. Steady, constant, no stopping, slow steps, firm stance. Sitting by the fire circle, hands atop an alpaca blanket, eyes closed, she feels faint tremors, nods, then opens her eyes. This quake's small, but in 2 hours it'll grow stronger. The village falls silent. Baskets are set down, blankets checked, extra fleece layered at cave entrances, and quiet nods thank her seasoned insight. The Andes hunter's survival isn't just about individual skills. It's proof of an organized collective strength. They have no formal rules, no council, no all-powerful chief. Every voice counts equally. Whether a 12-year-old boy spotting rocks shifting on a high ridge, or a middle-aged woman fetching stream water for cooking, sharing her observations. If the boy says, "I saw the eastern rocks wobble," the seasoned elder summons others to prepare tarps, erect wooden braces against slides. If the woman notes, "The stream's rising fast, unusually," they promptly move corn baskets higher, dodging flash flood risks. In the long night, amid howling winds through leaf gaps and hail tapping the roof, they listen with every sense. Silence isn't eerie absence. It's a sacred moment to absorb every clue. Pebbles crunching underfoot, blankets slowly unfurled, elders' whispers. In the dimness, only firelight glints in their eyes. They exchange knowing glances, deeper than words. Huddling together doesn't just warm bodies, it carries spiritual weight. We're here, together, facing this as one. When the second aftershock hits, milder than the first but still rattling stone walls, they don't panic. A young couple, just placing roasted potatoes on the coals, ducks low, grabs 2 alpaca blankets, drapes them over each other's backs, then circles to check the cave. Their movements are calculated. No pushing, no rushing ahead. They move like a chamber orchestra, each with an instrument, playing in sync, listening closely, to find the safest spot before rolling rocks echo. The next morning, as the weary earth settles, they split recovery tasks. Men wade through underground streams, digging for surviving potatoes and corn. Women gather scattered leaves and alpaca fleece to patch roofs. Children sweep cave floors, salvaging fabric scraps for reuse. They giggle, finding a torn leather glove missing a finger, debating its use as a makeshift potato sack tie. Working together, their laughter, like gentle wind chimes, dispels exhaustion. In the post-quake village, no one boasts of single-handedly saving all. No one could. They tell of the girl with a tied bun sprinting to the cave in time, the man knotting rope to guide an elder across a rocky gap, the woman balancing a corn basket while singing her baby to sleep, the child clutching a small conch shell to hear stone shifts. Each tale seems ordinary, yet these weave the invisible net preserving life. As stories unfold by firelight, American viewers hearing of Hawaii volcano warnings might smile at the natural rumble versus injured footsteps distinction, both amusing and strange to most. But this very skill saved countless families. No misjudgments, no missed signs, no one left behind. The greatest lesson lies not in technology or weapons, but in unity and sharing. When they wrap alpaca blankets around each other, share every twig and log, they don't just warm bodies, they fuel spirits. The glowing coals don't just heat flesh, they warm souls, convincing all that, no matter how brutal the disaster, together they'll find a way out. And so, no solitary hero stands amid chaos, but the entire village, through shared footsteps and the bittersweet echoes of daily life, becomes its own champion. This is the tale of breaking the hero myth, where collective strength and compassion triumph over Earth's tremors, lulling each soul into peaceful sleep with faith in a brighter tomorrow. In the still moment before dawn, when dew clings to stone slabs and the sky barely blushes pink, the Andes village braces for a new day, not entirely peaceful. For here, earthquakes aren't random events. They're a constant pulse, etched into rock grooves, slyly tapping the earth like an invisible metronome. To hear this erratic symphony, the ancient Andes people honed a unique skill, monitoring aftershocks, using alpaca fleece as earplugs to muffle noise, distinguishing routine mountain vibrations from disaster's warning signs. At dawn, as coal stove embers crackle faintly on the cave floor, some villagers wrap small patches of alpaca fleece around their ears, finely combed, thick enough not to collapse when pressed against stone necks. They huddle, heads tilted, eyes half closed, like artisans savoring a melody. The soft pop of burning wood and wind whistling through rock crevices form a soundscape, but the critical notes are the vibrations beneath their feet, light as a rabbit steps on damp moss, or rustling like dry leaves crumbling. A single misheard moment, and the village could miss a vital signal. The first tremor often comes unannounced. It's not a roaring quake, but a quiet yawn from the earth. When someone detects an aftershock, they don't shout, "Earthquake." They nod subtly, hand gesturing to those nearby. A whispered phrase passes. 3, 2, 1. Counting seconds. For they've learned, if an aftershock lasts beyond 3 seconds, the upper rock layers are heavily stirred. A major quake could strike within 5 to 10 minutes. Then mountain winds hush. Only the crackle of fire from someone stacking wood, or the clatter of a forgotten fishbone shuttle breaks through. Time freezes. Hearts beat slower than usual, attuned to catch the tremor, the prelude to nature's terrifying drama. Children, watching parents sit still, mimic them, eyes wide, motionless. A silver-haired elder, nearly blind, tilts her head, arthritic hands pressing stone, feeling vibrations like a patient's pulse. When the tremor exceeds the threshold, her hand pulls back, palm downward, signaling, "Run!" Instantly, without much talk, they drape alpaca blankets over shoulders, pulling edges tight around necks. The blanket becomes soft armor, bodies melding with its warm fibers. They move slowly but decisively toward windproof caves, pre-chosen crevices, secured with chestnut bark ropes, safe havens. Stooped low, hands shielding heads, stepping lightly like cats, they resemble ghostly warriors, silently threading through stone corridors, avoiding extra tremors. The windproof cave isn't pitch black. Faint light seeps through cracks, casting dancing streaks on stone walls. Inside, a pre-lit coal stove warms potatoes and corn, their aroma rising. As they gather, they sit in a circle, leaning against thick, sturdy walls. Outside sounds, sliding mud, rolling rocks, echo faintly. But here, external pressure fades, like sitting behind thick glass. Each person tightens blanket cords around waists, keeping alpaca fleece secure during shakes, leaving legs free for quick moves. In the cave, no reminders are needed. They know. Lie down, heads touching stone, knees tucked, minimizing contact with the cold floor. They rest heads on small alpaca fleece pillows, protecting necks from rough stone. Elders sit calmly beside youths, occasionally taking deep breaths, passing on serenity. Frightened children cling silently to mothers, gripping blanket edges. They've learned silence preserves energy and sharpens hearing. When an aftershock exceeds 3 seconds, stronger tremors follow, intensifying, then subsiding. They know a main quake could last seconds, even hundreds, but the cave remains a safe anchor. During this, no one speaks loudly. They breathe evenly, listening to the space shift, small stones falling from the ceiling, warm air rising from burning coals, the soft rustle of alpaca fleece flexing with Earth's tremors. When the quake ends, silence returns, so deep they hear their own heartbeats. An elder nods gently, signaling it's safe to open eyes and sit up. They check blankets around waists, ensuring no one lacks one, then smile softly. This one's over. Relief washes over, like surviving a storm, heavy air lifting with quiet hope. But even with aftershocks gone, they don't rush from the cave. They wait 15 minutes to ensure the earth won't stir again. The wait in the cave is a precious pause. They nibble roasted corn and boiled potatoes, small bites to sustain energy, preventing hunger-induced tremors that could hinder facing further shocks. Wind whistling through stone gaps hums like soothing background music, calming minds. Some gently stroke alpaca fleece on their shoulders, feeling its smoothness, like rereading a survival tale woven into each fiber. After exactly 15 minutes, an elder signals. They exit the cave, still stepping slowly, but with brighter eyes. The sun climbs higher, streaming through rock gaps, casting long beams across the valley floor. The final aftershocks dwindle to faint ripples, like frogs croaking after rain. They don't rush back to makeshift stone houses. Instead, they check fields. Are potatoes buried under rubble? Are corn cobs snapped? They douse embers, gather scattered alpaca fleece around caves for washing and drying, prepping for the next watch. To outsiders, using alpaca fleece as soundproof earplugs for aftershock monitoring might sound odd. But this practice has sustained the Andes people for millennia, amid ever-restless mountains. Now, as dawn glows and mist clears, they walk on dew-soaked grass, vigilant but unafraid. For they know, whether earth quakes or winds howl, they've lived with aftershocks like breath itself. Alpaca blankets and windproof caves stand ready. Aftershocks aren't a haunting dread, but a lullaby woven into life. Each tremor whispers, live slowly, listen closely, trust the community. As night falls again, the crackle of cave coals resumes. They wrap blankets, press fleece to ears, close eyes to hear the earth's murmurs, until alpaca fleece guides them into the deepest, most peaceful sleep. As morning mist lingers on the grass, faint sunlight slips through rock crevices, illuminating the windproof cave's entrance. Andes villagers gather near its mouth. This cave isn't nature's generous gift. It's the work of generations of artisans, chiseling deep with picks and stone tools. Each strike a musical note, crafting a cave symphony. The damp, moss-covered stone walls stand firm through countless quakes. This is the ultimate shelter. Each rock like a giant armor plate, ready to withstand the earth's ferocious thrusts without crumbling. Stepping inside, the space grows eerily silent. No wind, no bird calls, only dim torchlight on stone walls, casting shadows through thin coal smoke. The cave floor, leveled long ago, has stray stones pushed to the edges, forming clear paths. Thick alpaca blankets, woven over a week, line the ground, creating a soft, warm cushion. Above the blankets, a layer of dry sawdust, spread evenly, absorbs moisture fast, preventing body heat from seeping into the cold stone. The sawdust's faint pine scent, comforting, contrasts the limestone's stark chill, creating a cozy ambiance like a woodland cabin. Andes hunters keep the cave sparse, no ornate furnishings. One corner holds a clay coal stove, an old dented iron pot atop 3 stones, its flickering flames spreading warmth through the sealed space, keeping the cave just warm enough for survival. The fire isn't too large to avoid smoking up alpaca blankets, nor too small to prevent dying out during long quakes. It burns steadily, quietly smoldering, like a hidden heart in the cave, sparking a sense of safety. When the first earthquake rumbles from below, the cave proves its worth. Vibrations at the entrance, light aftershocks, often dislodge thin rock flakes, scattering across the cave's edge, but most debris falls harmlessly outside the central area. Inside, alpaca blankets and sawdust soften the tremors, like a pulse in the palm, letting those within feel aftershocks clearly without being overwhelmed. Body heat doesn't plummet as it would outdoors. The cave's stable oxygen levels prevent dilution by cold air. This wards off hypoxia, severe oxygen deprivation, and sudden blood pressure drops that could rob consciousness mid-quake. During tremors, firelight dances faintly on stone walls, glinting off soft alpaca blankets. Village elders sit upright, eyes half closed, hands on blankets, feeling warmth spread through fingers. They speak little. Loud voices could disrupt the cave's air, causing rapid condensation, wetting the sawdust and ruining its insulation. Instead, slow, steady breaths blend with crackling wood and distant pig squeals near the cave's mouth, sounds harmonizing to keep minds calm, fear at bay. The second tremor, stronger, lasts nearly 10 seconds. Outside, massive rocks crack, tumbling noisily down slopes. Inside, the floor echoes with debris impacts. But the thick blankets and sawdust make quakes feel faint, like lying on a wooden boat rocking on a lake. They clutch blankets, imagining themselves cradled in a dense spiderweb, shaking, swaying, yet safe. It takes over 2 minutes for aftershocks to fully subside. When no more stones fall, an elder nods lightly, signaling it's safe to sit up. They stay on alpaca blankets, sipping warm chicha, dry lips taking small gulps, just enough to soothe parched throats. The faint corn wine scent, mingling with sawdust, makes the cave feel familiar. Children and the weak drink first, ensuring no one slips into hypoglycemia. As breathing steadies, sunlight pierces deeper into the cave. They don't rush to leave. They inspect walls, new cracks, slightly shifted stones. Young men wield portable storm lanterns, slowly scanning surfaces, marking spots needing reinforcement. Elders, with keen eyes, count woven threads on blanket edges, checking for stone shards or dirt in the fleece, insisting on drying them outside to prevent mold. Maintaining the quake-proof cave goes beyond shelter. They've carved a storage nook, a hollow in the right wall, waist-high for adults. This nook holds dry food sacks, dried potatoes, roasted corn, quinoa grains, and family blankets. When stable, they store provisions here, sealed with a sturdy wooden lid, shielding food from stove smoke and moisture. This insurance vault stays dry, a backup for prolonged aftershocks or sudden snowstorms. The cave has natural ventilation. A small crack in the opposite wall, slightly above the ceiling, lets hot air and smoke escape. This prevents coal smoke buildup, avoiding oxygen depletion. The crack also channels outside sounds, rolling stones, voices at the entrance, without exposing them to drafts. These intricate designs stem not from modern engineering, but from folk wisdom and meticulous nature observation. They realized a cold cave, paired with alpaca blankets and sawdust, becomes warmer than a thatched hut in sunlight. They call it the pajama armor, the mountain's nightgown, insulating, cushioning, quake-resistant. Post-aftershock, they store firewood on bamboo racks inside, sealed to stay dry. When skies clear, some carry alpaca blankets to sunny yards, shaking off sawdust, folding them neatly, marked for families. These blankets, dried, return to the stone nook, ready for the next quake. The rustle of falling sawdust, like a drumbeat, ends the aftershock symphony, signaling life can briefly resume its rhythm. And so, in the mighty Andes, people crafted the quake-proof cave, not a dark, stifling prison, but a warm, safe haven. As night falls, they gather by the fire, telling children cave tales, saying it shields not just bodies, but dreams and faith. In the warmth of alpaca blankets and gentle sawdust scent, they listen to the earth's bubbling pulse, sinking into the deepest, most peaceful sleep, dreaming of a sunny day in the Andes Valley. In the tranquil hush of sunset, as the day's last light stains the terraced fields red, the Andes hunters' community begins a sacred ritual to prepare for a night that might tremble. The air shimmers with twilight's purple and gold. The scene, warm as a painting, yet always hinting at life's fragility amid grand, challenging nature. Late-day roosters cluck softly. Birds cease hopping branches. Only the wind's long sigh weaves through leaf gaps, as if Pachamama, Mother Earth, summons them to gather, ready to offer gifts for her blessing of peace. The ritual doesn't start with booming drums or thick incense smoke. It begins with the gentle rustle of alpaca fleece being plucked apart. Soft, silvery tufts, each strand falling to the stone ground, sprinkle over a main blanket woven at dawn. Each family prepares a thick blanket, spread flat on the valley's sunken earth, then scatters a thin layer of fleece, not too dense, but enough to form a pulse line touching Pachamama. They believe these alpaca fibers, once warmed by weavers' hands, now blend with mountain spirits, becoming a thread linking humans to the mountain goddess, carrying their heartfelt pleas to the divine. Next, they bring out sacks of golden corn and small potatoes, dark-ripened tuk fruits. Corn kernels are sprinkled lightly over the alpaca fleece, mingled with thinly sliced potatoes, forming the ceremonial cocoa foam, a whimsical yet meaningful name, evoking the ritual's sweetness. Each kernel, each potato slice isn't just dried food. It's a symbol of abundance, a wish for bountiful harvests next season. On the blanket's surface, corn and potatoes zigzag gently, like sacred script scrawled on Earth's page, bearing prayers for safety. As families prepare offerings, village elders, survivors of decades of quakes, gather at the front. A silver-haired grandmother, petite but with blazing eyes, walks slowly, clutching a long staff carved with mountain ridges. Beside her, an elder sits on a raised stone, whispering ancient chants, their resonance blending with the wind, forming a lullaby for the earth. The sound isn't loud, but enough to hush all, each ritual word sinking deep into hearts. The grandmother sets her staff down, tapping the alpaca fleece 3 times, then scatters a small handful of corn into the air. The kernels scatter, glinting in the fiery sunset, like tiny stars falling from a twilight sky. Turning to the jagged peaks where tectonic plates lurk, her warm voice rises. Great Pachamama, accept our humble hearts. Shield our village from harsh tremors. Grant us peace tonight, a radiant dawn tomorrow. Each word pauses, others softly echo in unison. Mother, grant us grace. In the quiet pause, the elder beside her continues, his voice like a melodic sequel. He recounts tales of ancestors, thousands of years ago, who first settled this valley. They endured fierce quakes, surviving through this ritual, faith and offerings fused with practical knowledge. His words, gentle but captivating, make listeners forget their worries, leaving only awe and calm. When the prayer ends, they don't rush to douse fires or clear offerings. A young woman, tasked with cooking, brings a bamboo tray near the ritual blanket, carrying a warm pot of chicha and fragrant boiled potatoes, setting them on the ground. Each family offers a small portion of chicha and potatoes atop the ritual spread, symbolically giving to Pachamama. They raise chicha bowls, clinking lightly as if toasting, both a shared act and gratitude for nature's warmth. The ritual's music isn't bronze drums or reed flutes. It's the crackle of sawdust in encroaching darkness, the sizzle of coal embers, and a few notes from crude bamboo pipes. These dry bamboo instruments hum soft melodies, not boisterous, preserving the somber mood. The notes float, curling with stove smoke, weaving through alpaca fleece and offerings, forming a spiritual shield against the earth's wrath. The mountain wind shifts, no longer gentle, whistling sharply in bursts, signaling the ritual's end. Elders stand, tapping staffs one last time, softly instructing, "Keep the ritual blanket under your pillow. Don't let corn scatter. It's our sign to the mountain goddess we're ready." They carefully fold the ritual blankets, placing them by earthen beds or makeshift bamboo cots, poised for a night that might quake unannounced. The evening ritual ends as distant mountain crickets hum, the sunset's final pink fading, yielding to a star-streaked night. They stand around torches, eyes flickering, exchanging knowing nods. No more words are needed. They prepare. Children lulled to sleep with earthen songs. Women check blankets. Men tuck picks beside pillows. As night deepens, the village slips into slumber. Thick alpaca blankets not just warming, but bolstering faith in the supernatural and community. Within ritual blankets, alpaca tufts, corn, and potatoes rest carefully until the first tremor sounds. Fires dim. Only faint warm smoke lingers in the cave, like the ritual prayer's final breath. When an earthquake strikes, no one panics. They wrap ritual blankets around themselves, cover ears with alpaca fleece, cling to pillows, and close eyes. In the trembling dream's sting, they feel the blanket not just warming, but cradling faith. Faith in the ritual, in Pachamama, in community strength. The more the night shakes, the stronger their belief that, with alpaca fleece and heartfelt offerings, they'll endure. Until dawn paints the Andes Valley pink again, where the survival tale continues, gentle as a day's-end lullaby, soothing souls into the calmest sleep. As silent night cloaks the valley, the quiet is but a fleeting pause. The earth begins to rumble from deep below, not mere aftershocks, but a drumming alarm. Inside the quake-proof cave, oil lamps flicker, casting pale yellow light on moldy stone walls. The light quivers with each tremor, creating wavering shadows. Loose stones dangling from the ceiling seem ready to drop any moment. In an instant, the afternoon ritual's silent message surges. "Run now!" No one waits for loud calls. They quietly wrap alpaca blankets around themselves, pulling edges tight to shield chests and necks from flying debris. Half asleep children wake, trembling, clutching blankets. Women swiftly support the frail elderly, slipping onto rope harnesses woven from cottonwood bark, rough, sturdy ropes tied around waists since dusk. These ropes not only anchor them to cave-front stones, but bind everyone into a safe circle, preventing panicked scattering amid the quake's pull. The first sound of the escape is soft shouting, not chaotic, to preserve clarity. "Over here!" echoes faintly when someone stumbles. Instantly, a rope-bound hand grips their wrist, pulling them up. Every step moves like a synchronized dance. Left foot touches ground. Rope tugs lightly. Right foot steps forward. Rope slackens, then tightens. This deliberate rhythm ensures that, no matter how fierce the quake, they move as one. No one is left behind. Under dim oil lamp light, their figures resemble gray-cloaked spirits rushing from the cave, following a pre-marked trail. The path winds through rock crevices, along low cliffs, where dried leaf bundles, set as reflective markers, glow under flashlight beams from the cave. During strong tremors, they don't stop. They crouch low, clutch alpaca blankets, lower their center of gravity to avoid being flung upward. Behind the gray blanket brigade, falling rocks thud like war drums, urging them to flee the slope swiftly. In the race against aftershocks, there are pauses. When a strong tremor halts, they feel along stone walls for new cracks or wobbling rocks. Eyes bleary from sleeplessness, they remain sharp enough to spot hidden dangers. A trembling man's hand points to a narrow crevice, warning of a cracking boulder above. His gaze directs the group right, dodging the rockfall path. It's a moment where survival skills merge with instinct. Silence, observation, swift action. Descending the slope, faint moonlight reveals rugged trails. Someone whispers, "Don't look down. Look ahead to stay balanced." Gnarled branches jut from the mountainside. They duck beneath, using ropes to pull each other over slick patches. The hiss of woven ropes scraping stone reminds them to keep a steady pace, not to rush. Children, though frightened, stay silent. Alpaca blanket edges covering faces, guided by parents. The group moves like a ghostly train chugging through the night, slow but certain. Footsteps, creaking ropes, falling pebbles blend into a melody, chaotic yet rhythmic. They don't look at each other, don't sigh. Eyes stay fixed forward. The goal isn't a distant finish line, but each balanced, safe step. The village center lies in a lower stone basin, deemed safer through generations' wisdom. As the group reaches the valley, a small generator's hum, powering a coal stove, buzzes to life. It's the signal of volunteers waiting, ready with flashlights and warm water. Bright beams flash, piercing the dark. They step into a safe zone, floored with thick alpaca blankets and rough wooden planks, a makeshift rest area. Here, they wrap blankets tighter, sit by electric stoves, receiving cups of hot chicha. The generator's chug hums like an odd breath in the cold night. Someone chuckles. This noisy generator's probably scared of quakes, too. The soft laugh mingles with warm air, easing exhaustion. Children yawn, heads drooping on mothers' laps, soothed by warmth and artificial light. Elders sip chicha slowly, eyes closed, as if turning panic into fading memory. The night's escape isn't just enduring, it's proof of a united community. No single hero stands out, but the collective, ropes binding them as one. Each step, each stumble lifted by the next person. Each trembling second, every breath shared through alpaca fleece's gentle touch. As dawn breaks, light smoke rises from lingering coal embers. They quietly untie waist ropes, dropping them to the ground, shedding the weight of tension. Alpaca blankets flutter in the breeze, pulling away, signaling the escape's end. Birds return, wind hums softly, and morning light streams through rock gaps. They stand, stretch bent backs, exchange faint smiles, a silent thanks for resilience and the miracle of unity. Then, as always, they gather blankets, ropes, and stoves, returning the clearing to nature. The upper slope lies still, no stones falling. But in each heart, breaths grow steadier, sleep sweeter. They've survived the trembling night. They know tomorrow brings terraced fields, potato planting, alpaca blanket weaving, and faith in Pachamama. Yet the midnight exodus remains a lesson in survival's path. Run slow and sure, bound by ropes of trust, stepping through darkness together. So when dawn rises, all can see the sunlight of a hopeful new day. In the quake-proof cave's heart, where sawdust and alpaca blankets level the ground, a few oval ceramic jars sit carefully beside the coal stove's stone base. No one keeps open flames inside, fearing suffocation, but they have a subtle trick, sparking small fires in sealed-mouth jars, enough to spread fragrant warmth without smoke buildup. These heavy, glaze-thick jars, twice fired to resist cracking, are night's inseparable companions. As the first aftershock faintly trembles, a village elder flicks a fire stick, dry wood soaked in ash all day, against smoldering coal, tossing it into a jar. Inside, the coal flares into tiny flames, orange with pale yellow hues. The fire doesn't blaze brightly, but heats the ceramic walls, radiating gentle warmth. They tuck the jar into a prepared blanket pouch, tying alpaca fleece around its mouth, then wrap the blanket around themselves. The jar nestles within the blanket's folds. Warmth spreads evenly through each fleece layer. Each family assigns one person to tend the jar's fire, a vital task, though it seems simple. They tilt the jar slightly, preventing the coal from burning too fiercely and cracking the ceramic, while gently shaking it to keep coals from clumping, ensuring an even burn. The warmth flows from the jar's walls, seeping into blanket layers, making those huddled in the cave feel a comforting glow, easing the misty chill creeping through stone cracks. During the cave's trembling aftershocks, when lives must move fast or pause, you'd see a young woman pressing a jar near an elder's hip while bending to check waist-tied ropes. The fire's dim glow reflects off the jar's glaze, casting soft orange streaks on her face, like a warm embrace. Soft breaths echo in the cave. Warmth weaves through, faintly dispelling tremors and cold sweat on skin. As aftershocks intensify, they hold jars closer to waists, curling bodies to share heat between jar and flesh. The small jars spread warmth slowly, evenly, avoiding sweat. A danger in the cold night that could lead to chills. The jar becomes a second heart, pulsing warmth, channeling heat into alpaca blankets, drying sweat beads on foreheads before they freeze on skin. Under flickering oil lamps, this scene warms the heart. The slow tap of jars against stone supports, boom, boom, serves as a rhythm for the aftershock's score. Each tap feels deliberate. Mother, stay calm. We'll make it through. Even modern heaters can't match the peace of touching a fire-warmed jar and thick alpaca blanket. When the quake stabilizes, silence lingers. They prepare to leave the cave. Before stepping out, Low-flame jars are brushed free of clinging sawdust, placed back on stove stones to rest for next time. They wipe hands with wool scraps, fold blankets neatly, then step from the cave. Calloused feet touching damp earth, carrying the jar's lingering warmth. Outside, mountain winds whistle through rock gaps, biting skin. But those just steps from the cave still feel the jar's warmth seeping through blankets. They clutch jars, breathing deeply, letting heat fill lungs and blood. Faint moonlight glints off large rocks, reflecting misty smoke from the cave's walls, creating an ethereal scene like a fairy realm. Moving along the marked trail, hands grip jars with each step away from the cave. The jar's warmth makes mountain winds less fierce. The cold deepens every second, but the jar's heat sustains body temperature, preventing sudden hypothermia. Carrying small jars in blanket pouches becomes as vital a survival skill as weaving blankets or tying ropes. At the village center, they gather around portable coal stoves. Each sets their jar by their feet, barefoot toes curling toward knees to soak up more warmth. Elders warm hands, softly recounting fire jar rituals. How ancestors discovered burning coal in jars was the best way to keep warmth in sealed caves. The tale is brief, but brings faint smiles, easing the last chills of the night's aftershocks. Children tease. "These jars are so warm, why not make them hot pots?" Sparking hearty laughs from adults. Some women gently reply, "Because these aren't hot pots. They're incubators for the whole village." Laughter blends with crackling fire, creating a light atmosphere, dissolving tension. By morning, after the final quake passes, jars at families' feet are collected. Elders carefully inspect each. Any cracks, coals burned out, ash stuck to rims? Slightly cracked jars are patched with ash-mixed clay, dipped in water, dried by fire. Those with live coals are topped with ash and sealed, ready for next use. Life in the Andes Valley resumes, repairing stone walls, weaving new alpaca blankets, planting potatoes, tending corn. But fire jars stay close, like small treasures. They say, the jar's fire doesn't just warm, it holds faith. Each use recalls the night's escape through aftershocks, children's teasing smiles, and the unity that carried them through a trembling night. And so, as another night falls, amid stone corridors and mountain dews hum, they tuck fiery jars beside alpaca fleece, preparing for a night that might quake again. In blanket pouches, warmth sleeps, waiting to be roused, like Pachamama's gentle lullaby, reminding them that, though the earth may shake, human hearts carry an undying flame of faith and hope. As night fully claims the Andes Valley, dense fog clings silently to every leaf, every slick stone. Winds from the northeast howl through mountain gaps, carrying bone-chilling cold that seeps into marrow. In that moment, the Andes hunters' community gathers in makeshift shelters, stone houses, and carefully prepared caves, facing one final challenge: ensuring everyone, young or old, man or woman, feels as warm as possible. Alpaca blankets, the fruit of a week's hand-weaving, become more precious than ever. Each blanket, over 2 meters long, nearly 1.5 meters wide, thick with soft fleece and traditional fish scale patterns, can wrap an adult. But in harsh conditions, one blanket often shelters two, an elder and a child, a sick person and a healthy one, or sometimes two women of similar age sharing warmth. When the final aftershocks subside, dim light from ceramic jars and portable coal fires glints off fleece strands. The strongest men begin untying blankets from their waists. They don't keep them for themselves. Instead, they patiently spread them on the cave floor, creating a warm mat for elders and children. The gesture needs no words. The sight of a man bending, kneeling on the earth, laying out a blanket speaks volumes of kinship in crisis. An elderly woman, legs trembling, leaning against the stone wall, sees the blanket spread. Her eyes shine with gratitude. A child, no longer shivering in a mother's arms, is guided to join the elder, curling up together in the blanket. The alpaca fleece wraps around them, dry sawdust beneath traps warmth, keeping cold stone at bay. In that moment, elder and child share the same heat. Cold sweat fades, breaths grow steady. Another man steps forward, having trekked the long first stretch to the valley, unfurls his blanket, layering it over the first, creating a double shield. The lower fleece cushions the elder, the top warms the child, but both nestle within. The child turns toward the elder, shoulder brushing. Eyes sparkle like rubies in firelight, while the elder smiles, eyes glistening with peace. A second blanket goes to an elderly couple, he with aching joints, she with a sore back, too slow to run like others. Two young men guide them, gently wrapping the blanket around them. The woman murmurs softly, "Thank you, my dears." Their aged eyes close, leaning against each other, sharing warmth in a moment of calm aftershocks. For children, alpaca blankets are a warm dream. Tiny hands clutch the fleece, fingers weaving through soft strands, feeling a smoothness no lesson could teach. Their cheeks flush with warmth, eyes drooping, nodding off into sweet slumber amid the stormy night. Beneath the blanket, they lie still, breathing evenly, warmth spreading through their bodies like magical armor against the cold. The last strong man keeps his blanket, being young and resilient, better able to endure the chill. He kneels, helping a pregnant woman, beloved for her steadfast spirit, wrapping the blanket around her, supporting her belly to protect both mother and unborn child. Under his hands, the alpaca blanket curves warmly, cradling them, a silent vow to guard the next generation. No one is left behind, regardless of family, tribe, or origin. Small families, once scattered, now huddle as one, sharing alpaca blankets like shared kinship. The blankets cease to be personal possessions. They become symbols of compassion, of brotherly duty when nature drills its quaking wrath. In a moment, they lean back on alpaca blankets, shoulders touching, eyes half closed. Flickering coal firelight traces wrinkles, young faces. Warmth spreads, banishing the cave's outer chill. Steady breaths rise like a gentle lullaby. They say nothing more. Silence and warmth speak thousands of blessings. Alpaca blankets are shared this way every night. When new aftershocks surge, no one needs to unfasten or fight for blankets. All have new ones or share to cover pairs. Soft laughter ripples when someone stirs, seeing a mother or elder sleeping soundly, feeling an odd safety. The cave's air brims with love, turning 1,000 years of wilderness into a fleeting home. By morning, As dawn seeps through rock cracks, they slowly wake. Some yawn, rub shoulders, then untangle blankets. It takes time for alpaca fleece to cool. Only then do they carefully fold them. Each blanket is neatly tucked away, marked for families, stored in stone nooks, a museum of memories, etched with harsh yet warm nights. Alpaca blankets, through shared kindness, don't just warm bodies, they warm souls. They remind them that, amid trembling nights and fierce quakes, the greatest treasure isn't the fleece's thickness, but the compassion to share warmth with the vulnerable. In the darkest moments, they're not alone. They have each other, warmth, faith, and kinship, drifting into peaceful sleep, dreaming of a calm morning with birdsong in the Andes Valley. Dawn spills through rock crevices, tinting the dew-damp earth pink. The village wakes to a strange air. Faint smoke columns rise not from coal stoves, but from the quake's ashen ruins. The space glows orange-gold, promising a fresh start. Elders, instead of lingering by stone walls, stand gathered in the earthen yard, calling all to an urgent meeting. Amid crisp birdsong, they clasp hands warmly, eyes fixed on a large stone platform, ready to share the survival map etched by last night's trials. The meeting holds no throne or power. It begins as the chief, a weathered figure with experience-lit eyes, lifts a soot-stained black cloth from the stone. His gaze softens at the bare earth, pocked with blanket-scarred hollows and frantic buffalo hoofprints fleeing to caves. No hollow preamble. He points to alpaca wool bundles hanging before the platform. Last night, these saved us from the trembling dark. His voice, soft but resonant, sinks deep into every heart. A woman, keeper of alpaca blanket-weaving secrets, stands, hands still smudged with ash. She spreads wool on the ground. Silvery strands glint in early sun as she begins reweaving a new blanket. Villagers encircle her, eyes locked on each fish-scale cross-stitch, the technique that saved hundreds last night. The click of fishbone shuttles blends with roosters' sharp crows, forming a revival melody. With each stitch, she explains natural dye blending, purple from oil tree roots, gold from daisies, raw alpaca white, and how to interweave patterns for thickness and elasticity. Her voice, warm and unhurried. Each stitch carves our lessons. Don't forget, quick weaving isn't enough. Follow the process. Layer sawdust, check for gaps, sew red edges to prevent fraying. Her words echo in young minds, forming a standard. They scribble the process on tree bark paper, tragic fruit script, stored in a stone nook under cave walls. When complete, this guide will pass to future generations like sacred text, not just about weaving, but a survival manual. As the new blanket, modeled on the ceremonial cocoa foam, finishes, elders display dried corn kernels and potato slices to demonstrate pre-quake offerings. They recount yesterday's ritual, scattering alpaca tufts, sprinkling corn and potatoes, chanting to Pachamama. Their voices aren't forced. It's a gentle reminder, like teachers reviewing lessons, ensuring the ritual endures. With weaving and rituals reviewed, the meeting shifts to rebuilding makeshift stone houses. Strong men, legs weary from night runs, divide tasks: stone cutting, stone stacking, roofing with leaves and alpaca fleece. They consult a rough buffalo hide map, marking safe caves, redrawing which held strong, which need repair. Stone chiseling, hammer taps, rustling leaves synchronize rhythmically, not loud but clear, so all know their roles. Meanwhile, women and children collect sawdust, tending portable coal fires. They gather scattered sawdust, dry it on mobile stoves, and fill sacks for new cave floors. Older villagers sit at old cave entrances, noting new cracks, marking unstable stones as unsafe. They log alpaca fleece scraps and fire jars locations. All bark papers, with weaving guides, are folded and buried under new cave floors, a silent charge to future generations to preserve knowledge. By afternoon, under blazing sun, groups collaborate to rebuild stone houses. Round stones stack tightly, forming higher arches for better ventilation. Central pits hold potatoes, corn, and blankets. Roofs of firm leaves, topped with thick alpaca fleece, shield against snow. The structures grow sturdier. They jest they're fit for a 3-generation family. Laughter ripples as they call the houses a warm Aztec bank amid the Andes. With new stone houses solid, they clear old floors, sweeping stone shards and excess sawdust. Women carefully spread new alpaca blankets on cave floors. Men check waist-tied ropes, resetting old ones. Children restore eucalyptus markers along trails. Everything sinks, so if aftershocks strike tonight, they can flee correctly to upgraded shelters. The meeting becomes an aftershock reading class on the mountainside. An elder, ears finely tuned, stands still, listening to tremors below. She repeats aftershock timing. 3 seconds. Prepare. 5. Run. 10. Find safety. They split into groups, practicing, pressing boot heels on worn stone, sensing faint shakes, distinguishing rolling boulders from small debris, to stay sharp for night escapes. As dusk falls, recovery enters a final rehearsal. The village gathers before the new cave, simulating an aftershock. From elders to children, they test listening, reading tremors, running by ropes, reaching the new stone house. The drill unfolds in silence, only breaths and soft steps, each applying fresh lessons, no longer confused or lost. When no quake comes, an elder taps her staff thrice, ending the rehearsal. The sun sets behind the Andes, casting a lilac glow. They huddle by portable coal fires, sipping warm chicha. Crackling flames backdrop end-of-day sharing. Old recipes, last night's lessons, reminders that survival knowledge must be preserved, passed on. Children's bright laughter echoes, easing fatigue, affirming that, however harsh the quakes, they have a detailed plan to cope. As night creeps back, coal embers and alpaca blankets' shadows radiate warmth, painting a serene scene. The village is restored, not just in structures, but in spirit. They no longer fear each tremor, knowing how to weave blankets, build caves, read aftershocks, share fleece. They wrap blankets, slip into peaceful sleep, secure in a seemingly mundane history lesson that saved them thousands of times. Survival knowledge, proof of a community's strength against nature's wrath. As dawn's first light pierces the Andes peaks, bathing terraced fields in golden glow, the Andes tribe doesn't just smile at a new day. They gently touch their alpaca blankets, community-crafted treasures, and recall a survival path forged over millennia. Now, under warm sunlight, these thick native blankets, shimmering with wine purple and daisy gold hues, are ready to journey beyond, to distant markets in Europe, North America, Asia. On luxurious store shelves, amid countless high-end goods, Andes alpaca blankets stand out like nature's gems, fused with folk wisdom. But few, except you, the audience nestled cozy under your own covers, grasp that each wool strand holds salty sweat, the low hum of Earth's tremors, ancestral survival tales. Shoppers see only softness, warmth, yet beneath lies a chain of rituals, weaving techniques, communal bonds etched by all. Each blanket is born from a week hunched in caves, hours listening to residual quakes, ash-baked cleansing, purple oil tree roots, and mountain daisies blending in sunset ceremonies. This heritage story begins with tree bark pages preserving hand-weaving guides, penned after the village's greatest quake. As trembling nights descended, calloused hands deftly wove fish-scale stitches, an evolved technique from ancient looms. They meticulously noted ratios of raw and dyed alpaca wool, how to comb strands over hot coals to dry them, optimal dyeing hours for herbal pigments to soak fast. These became cherished lore, shared by elders beside flickering fires, later transcribed onto survival process maps. Beyond technical heritage, spiritual legacy endures through ancient songs. As winds whistle through leaf gaps, bamboo flutes echo from stilt houses. Elders hum Pachamama's lullaby, a plea to Mother Earth for quake protection. The melody, not lively but warm, pulses like Earth's breath. Over generations, it adapts. A cradle song for infants, a soul-warming tune for elders in cold nights. When alpaca blankets reach foreign shores, Western scholars spend months tracking the song's origins, inviting Andes artisans to perform, showcasing both culture and survival heritage. People crave alpaca blankets not just for quality, but for their story. Labels read, "Handcrafted by indigenous women weavers in Peru's Sacred Valley," with QR codes linking to videos of weaving, Pachamama rituals, midnight aftershock escapes. Many customers, after watching, send thank you letters, valuing how weaving ties to ash-baked cleansing, how sawdust not only absorbs moisture but calms panic. Some, enchanted, travel to the village for weaving workshops, combing strands, stitching hooks, proudly sharing their first blanket on social media. The native alpaca blanket brand graces high-fashion collections. Designers collaborate with Andes artisans, using fish-scale patterns as motifs for coats, scarves. Each piece carries a tale. Inspired by Andes rituals, where people share warm blankets with elders and children during quakes. Nearly every fashion house launching post-quake collections uses cave, rope, and Pachamama ceremony imagery as runway backdrops, crafting a cultural, heartwarming experience. Alpaca blanket prices reflect this. Each takes at least 7 days to weave, using nearly a kilo of alpaca fleece, worth months of local income. But a storied blanket holds far greater value. Buyers don't just pay for the product, they honor the tale, the heritage, contributing to cultural preservation funds. Part of profits supports traditional weaving classes, sends indigenous children to school. Parallel to this, survival heritage spreads through education. In Cusco's elementary schools, Andes survival class begins with students bringing alpaca blankets, spreading dry sawdust, simulating quakes, learning to read aftershocks. Teachers sing Pachamama's lullaby, guiding kids to share blankets with weaker peers, a lesson in kinship no textbook can fully teach. Students call it sweaty hour, but eagerly boast to parents at home. Beyond the Andes, the Alpaca Blanket Survival Program reaches quake-prone communities like Nepal, Japan, California. Police, rescue teams endorse alpaca blankets in survival kits. In the U.S., states hire Andes experts to train civil defense in a westernized Pachamama ritual, honoring Earth, preparing warm blankets, weaving demo ropes, blending cultures uniquely. Under New York's blazing lights, pop-up stores display traditional alpaca blankets like art galleries. Foreign tourists eagerly drape blankets, snap check-in photos, hear the story. This isn't just a blanket. It's a mobile museum of bowing to hear Earth, pulling ropes from cottonwood bark, sharing warmth with the frail. In English and Spanish, these words etch the Andes people's labor, making the product vivid, not a soulless luxury, but a vessel of Earth's and humanity's soul. Back in the Andes, evenings resound with bamboo flutes calling children to bed. Elders sit by doorways, lighting coal fires, alpaca blankets over shoulders, recounting survival heritage. From first caves chiseled with picks to learning 3-second aftershock counts, fleeing quaking nights, weaving new blankets together. The flute's hum lulls descendants, preserving tradition amid modern life's rush. In that tranquil moment, as alpaca blankets embrace bodies, warmth spreads. Elders strike the final low note of survival's symphony. Heritage isn't just tools, but a thread tying past to future. If alpaca blankets gleam in city stores, the Andes village is their true soul, where each fiber, stitch, lullaby speaks humanity's unyielding will to survive, share, hope. And when you curl up in that blanket, know it doesn't just warm your body, it cradles your soul with an ageless tale, the Andes ancestors' survival heritage. In the Andes' dark night, as the final aftershock fades, a misty dawn rises over the valley. The hunter's community doesn't just rejoice in survival, but absorbs a history lesson, not carved in stone, not bound in books, but etched in breaths, in every pebble. What truly kills in an earthquake? Not massive boulders shattering, crashing down slopes, not violent jolts collapsing homes. The deadlier threat, invisible to the eye, is bone-chilling cold and panic's grip on the mind. When the earth quakes, body heat flees thin blankets, dissolving into the gloomy void. In moments, temperatures plummet so fast that breathing can seize lungs. Those without soft alpaca blankets, without insulating sawdust, feel skin numb, muscles cramp. They risk hypothermia, losing control, unable to stay calm enough to reach shelter. In that state, panic erupts. Hearts race, breaths gasp, thoughts scatter, freezing people in fear or sending them fleeing toward danger. But history teaches that in every disaster, meticulous preparation decides survival. When Andes villagers discovered alpaca fleece's remarkable warmth, they made it their first ace. Hand-weaving a blanket takes a week, not for lack of tools, but because each fish-scale cross-stitch is a survival shield. Every stitch, dye layer, red thread hem is calculated for optimal thickness, elasticity, insulation. Over generations, they learned survival's secret often lies not in weapons or medicine, but in something simple: a blanket. Next, history marks handcrafted caves, warm havens. Not deep natural caverns, these are deliberately carved shelters built to withstand quakes' thrusts. Using hard limestone, they chiseled carefully to form high but narrow arches, preventing landslides. Floors were leveled, layered with dry sawdust under alpaca blankets, creating dual insulation, sawdust wicking moisture, blankets trapping heat. During quakes, these caves cradle aftershocks, making tremors feel like gentle waves, not crushing blows. These survival caves didn't appear overnight. They're the fruit of generations observing, failing, learning. When the first cave collapsed under debris, villagers didn't give up. They noted exact crack locations, part of a second safety map. They knew no shelter is foolproof. Only those continually designed, reinforced, stand against relentless aftershocks. So, they maintained regular cave checks, sealing gaps, bolstering with ash-mixed clay to curb cracks, improving ventilation through small ceiling slits. Ande's survival history also celebrates community strength. When quakes hit, they don't wait for a hero. They share tools, blankets, oil lamps, ropes, with the vulnerable. Ropes woven from cottonwood bark, cut into short lengths, tie around waists, linking pairs in escape chains to avoid being swept by quake waves. Chaotic shouts give way to 3, 2, 1 counts, timing aftershocks to predict the main tremor. The village unites, no one deemed stronger. They yield alpaca blankets to children, elders, boosting their survival odds. Sharing becomes survival's compass. They willingly unfasten newly woven blankets, spreading them for elders, children, whether close neighbors or distant. One alpaca blanket can shield two, less warm than double woven, but vital. The strongest man kneels, laying blankets from cave edge to entrance, then grips a child's back, holding a spare to form a second layer. During quakes, the child, cradled by a mother in the blanket, is further shielded by the man, forming a layered barrier. This became an unwritten rule. Alpaca blankets are never personal. They're symbols of kinship in crisis. Panic, without preparation, can kill more than quakes. Andes history recounts families fleeing chaotically, abandoning blankets, fires, succumbing to cold, uncontrolled tremors, hypothermia, fainting, even death in unupgraded caves. From this, they drew lessons. Never leave the blanket, never abandon fire, never flee alone. Survival principles ingrained in community culture. Today, as alpaca blankets become exports, as caves yield to sturdy homes and modern quake alerts, these old lessons retain value. In mock evacuation drills, as people sit in projector-lit halls, instructors repeat, "What kills isn't tectonic shifts, but cold that shrinks you, panic that steals reason, mental readiness, proper gear. These are death's antidote." Screens show Andes villagers kneeling, spreading blankets in caves, spliced with modern folks sharing warmth, running by mock ropes, linking past to present. This history lesson gains wider recognition. In quake-prone community drills, first aid manuals now prioritize stay warm, stay calm over hasty flight. Humanitarian groups add alpaca blankets to relief kits, alongside dried food, medicine, ensuring survivors avoid cold, panic. People ask, why aren't regular blankets enough? The answer: alpaca blankets aren't just fabric, they're a millennium of community wisdom. In peaceful sleep after mock quakes, as drills end, participants close eyes, wrapped in warm blankets, smiling at the old lesson's relevance. Fire warms, blankets share, caves shelter, ropes connect, rituals dispel fear. Community spirit pierces trembling nights. In that moment, they don't just learn to survive disasters. They touch ancestral heritage, a tale forging resilient hearts, hopeful flames for anyone facing nature's trials. So, what truly kills in quakes isn't shattering stone, but cold and panic. Silent foes attacking hearts, dimming reason. The answer to survival lies in meticulous preparation, weaving alpaca blankets, carving sawdust-lined caves, sharing warmth with the weak, lighting fires in ceramic jars, tying bark-woven ropes, upholding wise rituals. That's the antidote to death, a history lesson to forever remember, so we may pass through trembling nights with calm hearts and spreading warmth. In the bone-chilling Andean night, under a sky black as a vast velvet shroud, people huddle in stone caves, watching faint warmth rise from thick alpaca blankets. They grasp a profound truth. Not just technology, not mere techniques, but the community's love and meticulous preparation are the true weapons against nature's fury. When the earth quakes, without ropes woven from cottonwood bark, without alpaca blankets to share, without knowing how to hear aftershocks through fleece-stuffed ears, they'd lose their way, perhaps their lives. But through compassion, through bonds built over generations, they stand firm in the fearful dark. Throughout history, Andes villagers honed survival skills, evolving crude looms into fish scale, cross-stitching for greater elasticity, analyzing aftershocks to build caves in safe spots, performing Pachamama rituals to steady spirits. Yet without community, these skills, these ritual tales, are dry details, too weak to lift a soul amid a ferocious quake. When a man laboriously sheds his blanket for a shivering child, when a woman pauses weaving to add fleece tufts for offerings, when an elder quietly urges descendants to count aftershocks at 3 seconds, they're passing hope to those beside them. We warm each other, so tomorrow we'll share the dawn. Today, as you curl up in a warm blanket under a city roof, perhaps with cotton throws or synthetic fleece, remember, sometimes the dullest things, like pale alpaca strands or dry sawdust, are what keep people safe on harsh slopes. Alpaca fleece isn't new. It's a millennium's wisdom distilled. Each hollow strand traps air pockets for insulation, each blanket thickened by countless weavers' hands, each dye from oil tree roots or daisies not just decorative, but a marker of quake-tested resilience. In our modern world, we chase high-tech, quake-proof homes, automated tremor alerts. But faith in ancestral wisdom, in rituals and community to quell panic, remains the bedrock. As you install quake warning apps, don't forget to install compassion. Share blankets, advice, steadfast belief. Science may tell you a quake's coming, but only community gives you reason to stay calm, knowing that even if you're shaken, others stand ready to help you through. Whether in a city or countryside, a high-rise or red brick home, you can learn from the Andes. Prepare ahead, share in crisis, preserve traditions to keep hope alive. When you drape a blanket over your shoulders, imagine a silver river of alpaca fleece embracing you like ancestral warmth, whispering, "You're not alone." When you hear the washing machine rumble downstairs, count 3 seconds, trusting you can read aftershocks of earth or spirit to find calm. Hope isn't a luxury. It's the flickering oil lamp in a cave, small but guiding hundreds of huddled steps. Hope is the bamboo flute's faint hum at dusk, fragile yet piercing the night. Hope is Pachamama's lullaby echoing across generations. Not prophecy, but Earth's enduring comfort. If we connect with nature, shelter each other, no disaster can snuff out the heart's light. And so, the Andes hunter's survival tale isn't just history. It's a reminder for us all. Pale alpaca strands, dry sawdust, bark-woven ropes, coal-lit ceramic jars. These are emblems of preparation, love, hope. As you nestle in a warm blanket on the night's edge before sleep, let your soul rest in that message. Though the night bites cold, though aftershocks rattle hearts, with readiness, with each other, we'll always find warmth and light to guide dreamy sleep to a place of peace.